Today we are going to go over Standard 1, 5, NBT, which will stand for Standard 1, 5th grade, numbers in base 10. Today we are going to add 2 decimals and we'll also do the subtraction of 2 decimals. We're going to demonstrate this in a traditional algorithm and we also demonstrate this in base 10 blocks. I will go over the place values and how to use base 10 blocks. I will also be going over common mistakes that students make. We will first start out by going over place value. So looking to the left of our decimal, we have the ones place value, we have the tens place value, and we have the hundredths place value. Looking to the right of the decimal, we have the tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousandths place. We know that in order to get to tens, we have to have 10 ones. In order to get to hundreds from tens, we know that we need to have 10 tens to get to 100. So going over to the right of our decimal, we know that we have to have 10 thousandths to go to our hundredths, and we need to have 10 hundredths to go to our tenths, and we need 10 tenths to go into 1. We can demonstrate this by looking at a fraction. If we have 10 tenths over 10, that equals 1. The next thing that we are going to talk about are going to be base 10 blocks. For our demonstration, we are going to start by adding 2.43 and 4.37. So when we would add a whole number using base 10 blocks, normally our ones was represented as our units, our tens was represented as a rod, and our hundredths was represented as a flat. This makes sense because you will have, again, we will take 10 units to make a rod, and we will take 10 rods to make a flat. In our case, we are going to be using our unit as our hundredths, our tenths as our rod, and our ones as our flat. This makes sense because we need to get for our hundredths unit, we need 10 units to get to our tenths and 10 rods to get to our ones. However, a common mistake students are going to make is making our hundredths a flat, our rods a 10, and our ones a unit. This isn't going to work because you can't have 10 flats going into a rod and 10 rods going into a unit. Therefore, this will actually represent a flat, this will stay our unit, and our hundredths will represent a unit. Taking 10 units into our tenths to make a rod and 10 rods to make our flat in the ones. First, we will start with our traditional algorithm. We have 3 hundredths plus 7 hundredths equaling 100th, so we know that we have to carry our hundredths to our tenths place. We will have 40 tenths plus 30 tenths plus 10 tenths coming to 80 tenths. And we will have 2 plus 4 equaling 6. We will demonstrate this in base 10 blocks by starting with our units. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 rods, and 2 flats. For our second number, we are going to have 7 units. We will have 3 rods and 4 flats. So if we add this across, we now have 10 units. We have 7 rods, and we have 6 flats. So when looking at this, we know that we have 10 units here, and 10 units make a rod. So we will take away our units and add another rod, coming up with 6.8. Now we will go over the subtraction of this problem. So again, we will have units representing our hundredths, rods representing our tenths, and flats representing our ones. So it's important that we start with the larger number on top because you can't subtract a smaller number from a larger number. So the first thing we are going to do is rewrite the problem. So we will first start with our hundredths place. We are going to subtract 7 hundredths minus 3 hundredths, which will come to 4 hundredths. And we know that we can't subtract 3 tenths from 4 tenths, so we need to borrow from our ones place. So this 4 will then turn to a 3, and then we will add a tenth to our 3 tenths, making it 13 tenths minus 4. This will be 9. And then we will go back to our ones. 3 minus 2 equals 1. We will then demonstrate this in base 10 blocks. So we started with 4.17. So we have 4 flats. We have 3 rods and 7 hundredths. We will now be subtracting 2 flats, 4 rods, and 3 units. So looking at this, if we take away 3 of these and 3 of these, we are left with 4 units. And again, we can't take 3 rods away from 4 rods, so we are going to go to our ones place and turn our flat into 10 tenths. So now if we are taking away these 4, we will then be left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rods. And then coming to our flats, if we take 2 away from these, we will be left with 1 flat, representing the number 1.94. Common mistakes that students are going to be making are again taking and using a flat for 100th and a rod for tens and a unit for ones. We'll just have to demonstrate to them that you can't go from a flat to a rod and that it needs to go from your smallest to your largest.